Today on our 2011 Ford Edge, we'll be installing the Curt T-Connector wiring harness with 4-pole connector, part number C56120. To begin the install, we'll first start by opening up the rear cargo door. Then we can remove the spare tire cover. We'll set it aside for reinstall later. Next, we'll need to remove the rear threshold. To remove the rear threshold, we'll simply get underneath the threshold and gently pry up and release the fasteners underneath. Once you release the fasteners underneath, we'll go ahead and set the threshold aside. Next, we'll remove the 2 cargo trays, one on each side of the spare tire. Now, with the cargo trays out of the way, we're going to move behind the taillight assemblies. We'll need to remove the taillight assemblies, and to do this, we'll remove the 2 fasteners that secure each one, and then gently pop the taillight assembly out of its position, being careful not to break the alignment tabs underneath. Next, we'll press on the wire connector lock that goes into the taillight assembly and remove the manufacturer's wiring from the taillight assembly. We'll set the taillight assembly aside for reinstall later. We'll go ahead and repeat the same process on the passenger side. Now, with both taillight assemblies removed, we'll go ahead and remove the grommet that secures the manufacturer's wiring behind the taillight assembly. Now, with the grommet removed, we can go ahead and use a pair of side cutters and cut a slit in the grommet. Now, we'll go ahead and set that aside and take our Curt wiring harness with the yellow, brown, red wire connector and feed it up behind the driver's side taillight assembly, pulling the wire through the grommet hole. With the grommet pulled out of the way, we can now take the yellow, red, and brown wire connector from our Curt wiring harness and feed it up behind the driver's side taillight assembly and out through the grommet hole. Next, we'll go ahead and feed the wire into the grommet and then reinstall the grommet into the grommet hole. We'll go ahead and install the wire into the slit we cut in the grommet and then reinstall the grommet. Now, take a zip tie and secure the extra wire behind the taillight assembly. Once we secure the wire, we'll cut off the excess from the zip tie and then reinstall the wiring connector back into the taillight assembly, reinstalling the taillight assembly. Next, we'll take the green wire connector from our harness and route it over to the passenger side, repeating the same process of routing it up behind the passenger side taillight assembly. Now, with both taillight assemblies reinstalled, we'll go ahead and secure the green wire as we follow it back over to the driver's side. Next, we'll take the white wire with the pre-attached ring terminal that comes from the converter box of our harness and secure it to the vehicle, as it will be the ground for our converter box and 4-pole connector. We'll use a self-tapping screw to secure the ring terminal. Note, we recommend to find a location where the sheet metal doubles up. Here below the taillight assembly is a perfect location. Once we secure the ground, we're now ready to start connecting the black power wire to the extra length of black wire provided with the install kit. This black wire will ultimately get run up to the front of the vehicle and make a connection with the battery. And it will provide the power for our new 4-pole connector. First, we'll go ahead and route it around the rear seat bracket and driver's side inner quarter panel and then back to the converter box. We can go ahead and strip back the wire. Now we'll go ahead and take the extra length of black wire we just routed, strip it back, and add it to the yellow butt connector. Now, with our connection point secured, we'll go ahead and wrap it up with some black electrical tape to help keep it free of dirt, dust, debris, and moisture. Next, we're ready to mount the converter box. To mount the converter box, we'll use the 2-side adhesive provided with the install kit. We'll peel back one side of the adhesive and adhere it to the converter box, and the other side and adhere it to the clean, flat surface, preferably sheet metal, which we can find below the taillight assembly on the driver's side underneath the quarter panel. Now, with our converter box secured, we'll go ahead and cut off any excess from the zip ties to clean up our install look, and we can reinstall the interior trim components. Now, with our converter box secured, we'll go back to our power wire, as we'll need to route it outside the vehicle so we can run it up to the engine compartment. To do this, we're going to go through the manufacturer's grommet. Using a utility knife, we'll cut a small slice in the grommet and then feed our wire through it. Once we have all the wire pulled through, we'll go ahead and secure the wiring to the manufacturer's harness, and then we'll cut off the excess from our zip ties to clean up our install look. Now we can go ahead and reinstall the interior trim components. Next, we'll get underneath the vehicle and start routing our power wire up to the engine compartment. Keep in mind when routing your wires, stay away from any moving components such as steering or suspension, or excessive heat such as exhaust. Keep in mind as we route the wire, we'll also secure it with black zip ties as necessary. Now we've got the power wire run up to the bottom of the engine bay, we need to route through the engine bay and up to the top of the engine. To do this, we'll use a pull wire. That could be a stiff piece of wire, or in this case, we're going to use a piece of air tubing. Feed it up through the engine compartment, and then we can secure our power wire to the pull wire and pull it to the top of the engine bay. Once we have it to the top of the engine bay, we'll go ahead and secure the wire with a zip tie and then cut off any excess from the power wire. Next, we'll go ahead and prepare our fuse holder. The fuse holder provided with the install kit will get a ring terminal on one side and a butt connector on the other. Then we'll take that butt connector and attach it to the power wire we just ran to the engine bay. Once again, after we use the butt connector to make connection points, we'll go ahead and wrap it up with some black electrical tape. Next, we'll go ahead and remove the positive battery post cover and then remove one of the nuts on the positive battery post terminal. Once we remove the nut, we can install the ring terminal and then re-secure the nut. Now we'll go ahead and install the fuse into the fuse holder, then secure the fuse holder to the manufacturer's wiring using one of the zip ties provided with our install kit. Now with all the wiring secured and our install complete, we'll go ahead and cut off the excess from the zip ties to clean up our install look. Next, we'll go ahead and show you operation of your new 4-pole connector. We'll simply take the 4-pole connector underneath the spare tire cover in the rear storage compartment and route it towards the center of the vehicle and down to the hitch or accessory. Keep in mind, you need to stay away from the latch of the rear cargo door, as pinching off in the latch can harm the wire. However, the weather stripping is thick enough that it won't, and we can simply close the rear cargo door on it. Then once we're finished using our new 4-pole connector, we'll simply wrap it up and put it back in the rear cargo area. Next, we can go ahead and show you how to test the new 4-pole connector. Using a test light, put our ground clamp on the white wire or bare terminal. Then, testing the brown wire terminal will be our running light circuit, yellow wire terminal will be the left turn signal, left brake, and green wire terminal will be the right turn signal, right braking. That does it for the install of the Curt T-Connector vehicle wiring harness with 4-pole connector, part number C56120 on our 2011 Ford Edge.